Hi, I'm Gail Sabo. I'm the program chair for the IDS program at Hodges University, and I may or may not be your instructor for this course. The course that we are talking about today is Conflict in the Workplace, and it's IDS 4100. So while I may not be your instructor, I still wanted to take a couple minutes and give you guys an overview and some insights into some of the things that we're going to be discussing in this course. So some people kind of like to have an audio, something to kind of listen to, something to kind of hone in and make it make sense. So while what I'm talking about in these videos that will follow will not be everything in your chapters and will not be everything you're going to learn, I am going to highlight a few of those important concepts for you. So I hope you find that these videos are helpful. And again, if I am your instructor, great. Make sure you shoot me an email and let me know what you think of the videos. And if not, I hope you still find the videos helpful. And remember, I'm still the IDS program chair, so if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to me. So let's get started. Conflict in the workplace. What's that? I'm sure none of us have ever had any conflict in the workplace. It's always perfect, right? Probably not. At least that's not been my experiences. I've had conflicts, and I'm sure you have too. And if you haven't, consider yourself really lucky, but I'm sure you've heard of conflict. This is something that happens. And if it's not in the workplace, it's in our homes, it's in our communities. There's conflict everywhere. So this class is going to give us some really cool opportunities to kind of examine what are the causes of conflict and what are the best ways to deal with it, and give us some tools to try to pick from different reasons why we might choose different techniques in dealing with and facing different conflicts. So we're going to be looking at some of that in these next couple of videos. So again, I hope you find them helpful. So first, let's talk about what is conflict. What is conflict? Conflict happens when there are two or more parties that have conflicting interest. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Two or more parties want something different, or they want the same thing, and there's only one of them. Okay, so two or more parties have a conflict as to how they're going to handle a situation. It's pretty straightforward. Now, those conflicts can be anything. They can be competing over limited resources. They could be different ideas of different directions in which we should go or we should handle things. There's a lot of different ways in which conflict can rise up in our workplace and in our lives. So how we deal with that conflict will be primarily dictated by what the conflict is and how invested we are in the conflict, how invested we are in the relationship. What would the consequences of that conflict be for us, possibly? If the consequences of the conflict are more powerful than the conflict itself, it may lead us to making a different decision than if the conflict was extremely valuable to us. So we're going to look at some of those techniques and some of those things that might happen. So there's 5 primary ways in which we deal with conflict. 5 primary ways. And the first one's pretty straightforward, pretty easy. It's avoidance. I don't want to deal with it. I'm going to find a way to avoid it. The other day, it wasn't at work, it was at home, but apparently I was a little cranky. And my daughter says, "I think you're pretty tired." And she proceeded to avoid me for a while. At the end of the day, she just thought I was too tired, and if she avoided me, she would avoid any conflict. There wasn't a major issue. It wasn't worth investing. She could tell that I was tired, and it really didn't have anything to do with her. And so she just avoided it, and the next day everything was fine. Fortunately, that's not an everyday occurrence. In the workplace, have you never come across somebody who was just in a bad mood? And you thought, right now, not a good time to deal with that. I'm just going to avoid this. We're going to talk about it later when they're in a better state of mind. So when we avoid something, it's not that pressing. It's not that important. It doesn't have to be addressed right now. The problem with avoidance, if we avoid all conflicts all the time, people might think we're to be weak or might think we're unwilling to address concerns. We wouldn't want that either. So use avoidance, but use it with discretion. The second way we might deal with a conflict would be accommodation. What happens in accommodation? Accommodation is when we're acknowledging there's a fight, we're acknowledging there's a conflict, we're acknowledging there's a concern, but it's really not worth all the effort. What I have or what this conflict is not worth the relationship. It's not worth the suffering. It's not worth the involvement. It's not worth the effort. So you know, there's two apples and we both, you know, and only one's a green apple and we both want the green apple. I don't really care that much about the green apple. I prefer green over red, but if you really like green, go ahead and take the green. I care about you more. I care about the relationship more. I don't really care that much about the apple. I don't really care if I have to work the late shift instead of the early shift, or if I have to work Saturday instead of Sunday. I prefer work Saturday, but if that's important to you and that's a big deal, I'll take the bigger step. You know, I'll work the Sunday. That's all right. It's not that big of a deal. So we're going to accommodate. We're going to work through that. We're willing to just give in. We don't have anything really at stake here. After that, another idea or another way we might deal with conflict would be competition. Now, in competition, we're going to fight for it. We're in it to win it. We want what they want, and we are going to put up the bigger and the better fight so we can win it. Somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose. That's good if you win. Not nearly as much fun if you lose. But it is yet the reality of the system. Sometimes there are limited resources. Somebody's got to get the promotion. Somebody's got to get the bigger office. Might as well be you. So competition is important. It's something we have to learn to deal with, but we should do it with humility. We should not be rubbing it in people's faces if we win. And we should not do it in aggression or anger. So we can be competitive and win and still do it with grace. So let's keep that in mind. Another one is going to be a compromise. So here's a compromise. The conflict's there. We really got to do something. I really need something out of this. You really need something out of this. Let's talk about it. Let's talk this through a little bit. What I really need is, I don't mind if I work on Saturday, but I really have to be off by 8 o'clock. I've got something going on at 9 o'clock. It's really important for me. I really got to be out at 8 o'clock. But I don't mind working on Saturday. So would that be okay? Could I come in a little bit earlier and work like this, and we have John Doe come in the afternoon and work the afternoon shift with me and close? So I'm willing to give this, but I need this from you. So we're giving and we're taking in a compromise. And so the two people are going to come together and try to come up with a solution that may not be ideal, but will work for both parties and preserve their relationship. Now, those are 4 ways. They all have their strengths, they all have their weaknesses, and they would all have different reasons and times when we would use them. What we want to strive for in conflict, though, is collaboration. If and when possible, we want to strive for collaboration. That's the goal. That's the end goal. What is collaboration? Collaboration is something that we do with the partner to resolve the conflict. So we're looking at that partner and we're saying it is important to both of us to come up with a reasonable solution that we can both get behind, both support, and both feel good about. That neither one of us feels destroyed after today, or feels that we've been taken advantage of, or that we've been hurt in this process. We acknowledge and we respect that a conflict is a very real thing, and we are going to work together to find a solution that we both agree on and is best for both of us. It preserves the relationship and it shows a value in that relationship, in whatever that is. So when we can take a collaborative approach in the workplace, in our lives, in our homes, then we have a win-win situation to the best of our ability. Doesn't mean we get everything we want all the time. It means that we are preserving the integrity of the relationship, that we're coming out not feeling super damaged and feeling like we can stand behind the decision that was made. We want to make sure that whenever possible, if we're going to be facing a conflict, that we keep the environment as unhostile as we can. So let's not slam doors and let's not create environments. Make the environment that's the most comforting and comfortable that it can be. Let's choose the time that we address our conflicts and choose them wisely. Don't catch somebody when they're off guard, when they're tired, when they are not prepared, when they don't have what they need. We schedule a time. When's a time we could get together and talk about this? Creating a less hostile, less intense environment for all. And remember, if you're preparing to go into a conflict and you know there's a conflict, and that's okay, do your homework. Are you prepared to face that conflict? Do you know what you need to know? Or are you just coming in being a bully? Check your facts. Make sure your facts are facts. Lots of times we react on things that aren't really what's going on. Do your homework. Check your facts. Check your attitude. And make sure you're really ready to move into that conflict. Stop in later for a later video and I'll give you some more tips. See you soon.